If you spoke to your friends the way that you speak to yourself, would they still be your friends? If the answer is no, hi, I was once you. And that was me. That used to be me, I want to say, well, all the way through my high school days and probably up until about 6 or 7 years ago. I came to this realization that I definitely did not speak to myself kindly, and I started to wonder if if I saw myself instead of as me, as a friend, would I continue speaking to myself like that? And no, I definitely would not, because I was awful to myself. But then I started wondering, why did that happen? Why did that start happening? At what point did I think, I know, I'll just bully myself relentlessly until I break me down? And honestly, a lot of it had to do with childhood, the way that I was brought up, the house that I was raised in. I saw a lot of violence and negative behavior. And so I thought that that's where I belonged. And then I got bullied a lot in school. And obviously, not having that stable home life plays a big part in how it affects your development as you're going into your formative years as a teenager. And so I just built this inner voice based on what everybody around me would say. So being bullied a lot, being called names, having a certain style. I was a huge goth. I loved anything gothic. And then I transitioned into an emo because that was my whole vibe. Loved it. But yes, I was bullied relentlessly for that as well. And then I realized that's where I kind of learned to feel shameful about myself, because we're not born with shame, right? No child is born feeling shameful. We learn it. That's a learned behavior, a learned feeling, whatever you want to call it. And so that's where I developed my shame, was people, telling me that I looked awful, just being in general, just being horrible about the way that I looked and about my personality and everything about that. So I was a very shy, timid child. I didn't stick up for myself. I didn't know who I was because I was basing who I was and my opinions of myself off of everyone else's opinions, because I had no real base to go back to and figure myself out. My home life was, again, chaotic. I didn't have time to figure myself out as a teenager like normal teenagers do and go through all these different phases, and in order to come out the other side having things kind of figured out a little bit. I didn't have time for that. My home life was I witnessed abuse and, all these negative, awful things. So Shannon was not something that I built on. I was not something that I built on. I neglected myself and, went into my adult years like that. And then I realized, you no longer live in this house, in that house. You no longer live in that time. You're no longer that timid teenager. You can't be that any longer, because you are literally a full grown woman who needs to get a grip. And it's a harsh thing to think, but it's just so true. And it's a scary thought, but it's a true thought. And I just remember thinking to myself, you need to shake off everything that you ever learned about yourself, because they weren't true. They were things that other people told you. And you need to start fresh and just get to know you. And it's amazing how much stuff I didn't know about myself until I really started to knuckle down and do that inner work. And I'm not saying I learned to love myself overnight, because I didn't like myself. So how can you love yourself overnight? It's not going to work. If you're in this situation, my advice to you would be, do not try and pretend like you absolutely adore who you are, because being honest with yourself, you don't. And again, that's not your fault. That's your surroundings, the place you were brought up in, everything around you has given you that. So instead of pretending, just say to yourself, I'm going to start fresh. I'm going to forget everything. And that is pretty easy to do. Just forget it all. There'll be some people being like, no, you can't. You can, and you have to. Just forget it all. Forget what people have said to you. Forget their opinions. Forget what you've said to yourself based on other people's opinions, and just get to know who you are. Okay, so you've done something embarrassing. Okay, move on from that. It's not shameful. Stop thinking in terms of shame. Stop thinking, we all do silly things. We all do things that we are not proud of. But the worst thing you can do is dwell on it and have regret in your life. Just move on. Move on to the next. Don't worry about it. You now need to work on building your confidence and your self-esteem and your identity. And you need to leave the trauma in the past. And I know this is a very, 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 very sore subject for a lot of people, myself included. A few years ago, if you tried to talk to me about this, I would have shut down. But acknowledging that you were, traumatized, or you were in a place where a lot of trauma occurred and it affected you deeply, really helps you to move on and build the person that you actually deserve to be. You are free now. You're free from that life. Cut ties with that life and build your own new life. This is the beautiful thing about life. You can always build new. It's never set in stone. You have free will. Do it. I implore you, please, please, please do it. If there's anything that you can do starting from now, it is letting go of that old life and the old you and blossoming into a new person, the person that you want to be, the person that you actually got to know. Because remember, none of these things that you feel, the shame, the embarrassment, guilt, I don't know, any of these negative things, they are learned behaviors. Just because your inner voice tells you these things does not mean it's right or that it's truthful. Your inner voice is very, very easily swayed, and it's very easily lied to. And then in turn, it will lie to you. And you just accept it. But now is the point. I'm telling you, this is the turning point for you. Do not accept it. Remember that your inner voice is sabotaging you because of the way that you were treated. But you can take back control. I want you to start. I want you to start whenever it is. I want you to start today, tomorrow, sometime this week. I want you to write it down when you're going to start really, really changing your opinion of yourself, when you're going to start letting go of all these negative things. Write it down so that you can see it, make it real, and just start reshaping how you see life and how you want to live. And I promise you will start to notice a difference, and you'll see a massive, massive shift in your confidence and your self-identity. Because I did, and now I'm an entirely different person, and I'm still growing. I've not hit my peak yet. I believe that's still to come, and I'm very excited for that. But I'm a lot better than I used to be, and I love being me now, which is not something that I could have said 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago. Definitely not. I never thought, if you'd have told me back then, you're actually going to really, really enjoy the person that you become and you're going to love your life, I would have been like, no, doubt, big doubt. But I do. And I'm excited to see where the future goes. And that's something else that I would never have said back then. I was not excited for my future because I believed that I was always going to be in that place, just like you do. But you're not. You're not. I promise. Do the groundwork. Do the work now. And you will see a shift. As always, thank you for watching and listening and lending me your ear. I hope this helped in some way. I truly, truly hope this helped. And I'll see you in my next one.